Was that the longest 30 seconds you've
It
ever
was it got down counted down and it started all over again.
Yeah, I know. It's because I have a thumb injury, and so like I gotta use I have to you you can't imagine what happens when you can't use your thumb. It's called Decker's vein. Welcome everyone to this week's virtual book club. Today we're diving into the world played chess by Robert Dugoni, a story that blends youth, memory, and moments that shape who we become through three voices and three generations. Dugoni reminds us how life's hardest lessons rarely arrive gently, and how wisdom often comes from the people we least expect. I'm excited to hear what resonated with you and what surprised you and what stayed with you long after you closed the book. Let's jump in. Today we've got Hal with me from Florida, and we've got Ference with us from Spain, Malaga, and we got Stephen with us
Hi
from.
guys.
Hello.
Hey,
Um,
So for me, it would be good to know. I know, Ferenc, you're finished, and
oh,
I'm on my second loop through the book. But before we get too far today, it would be worth knowing how far
I'm
everyone.
on the last hour.
I
Okay.
am
I'm at
on
7 minutes.
chapter 6.
Oh, so
So
Ooh,
you're still early in, Stephen.
yeah.
yes, I have about 5 hours 11 minutes left if I remember the audiobook correctly.
Gotcha. I will say, that if you like the book up to the point you're at and you're not, more than halfway through, um, that's wonderful. I think a lot of them, I think a lot of the groundwork gets laid, and the last half, and certainly the last third of the book, is where all of the real impact, I think, happens. So if you feel like, okay, this is okay, but where is this all going? Type of feeling, keep riding the pony.
I'm cool with that. It's been a fantastic read so far.
Yeah.
I was curious. I was looking, because yes, it's highly rated. It's like 4.6 on Amazon, and I don't know, something like 4.4 or whatever on Goodreads. But after tens of thousands of reviews, there's always going to be some people who are going to, want to give it a low rating, and I'm curious as to why. And one of the things that seemed to be, people struggle, they didn't really want to read a book about, the Vietnam War. They were offended by the liberal use of profanity. They didn't appreciate some of the religious messaging that comes out. And if you have to get further into the book to really start to appreciate where the character William sort of loses his faith in God and why. Um, and some didn't appreciate, which I think is necessary for the way the book is told, the time shifts back and forth, back and forth, you know, because he's reading, he's narrating William's journal. Um, it's in 1979, which is when Vincent is 18, and then it's in 2016, I think it is, when Vincent's son Bo is 18.
Hmm.
And so it has to make those time shifts to string it together, but that seemed to be a struggle for some of the lower ratings.
Um, so I have a comment for those lower ratings. Like, those are the things I enjoyed. Judge much?
No, I mean, I mean, any, I mean, there's always going to be, people who, you know, I keep joking about it, but the world loved Benet Brown's Dare to Lead. I trashed it, so there's always going to be some jerk out there who's going to trash a book.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was funny.
Well,
I
sorry.
forget. No, I'm sorry, Stephen. And Michelle is here. Michelle is from Lower Canada. We call it, or was it Southern Canada? Yes, Southern Canada, right? Because she's right across the border from Montreal.
Yes, ma'am.
In
Southern Canadian.
a
It's
southern.
it's pounding snow here in Southern Canada, in case you were
No,
wondering.
it's so weird. I have sunshine.
I have 0 degrees Celsius here.
Wow. Well, like I always say, the West is the best.
Oh,
Kidding. I have all these Easterners. Well, I don't know. What does Malaga consider itself, I wonder?
Yeah, I don't know. We had a rainy day. I don't know how was it outside because I didn't leave this room for too
You just
long.
read. You're like, rainy days are for reading.
Yeah.
So Michelle, when you were joining, we were kind of checking where people were in the book because I think it's worth level setting, to not get too far into things. So, Farron's and I, have finished it. Benita said she's got about an hour to go on the audio, and Steven said he's around chapter 6, so he's got a good 5 hours to go.
Oh, I have 7 hours and 7 minutes left.
Okay,
So I'm
so
a little
you're
okay.
slower than all of you. So, but I'm loving it just the same.
okay. I'm curious, friends, if you agree with what I said, but I mean, to me, as good as I thought it was well past halfway when it really started to click for me and things were really falling into place as to all the groundwork that was done early on.
Interesting point. I felt that from the beginning it was quite exciting because you have the notebook the author is reading from I think first or second relatively early. You have the notebook and you start reading those very intense notes, so you get involved in the story quite early, and you don't even think, okay, how will these things tie together, because the stories separately are already engaging. So I didn't feel the same way that I felt with some other books that are in different storylines and venues. For example, the one we read earlier, All the Lights We Cannot See. There, I felt what you mentioned. I was, I don't know, 60% through the book. Okay, this is nice, but where we are going to end up with all this? Where does it lead? Here, I didn't feel that. I found that all the characters, all the different stories are engaging in themselves alone. And yes, the fact that they tie together at one point, it's a nice addition to it.
So for reference, I think I'm the one who's the furthest behind. So if I share something, it won't spoil for anyone else.
No.
They just in the book, they just had the first person die in battle, and they worked the guy they called hay bale.
Hey, Bale,
That's
Kenny.
yes,
Yep.
Yep.
and where they're trying to where the gentleman has learned to be like work differently on the job site, and he's being recognized for how he's able to save and change how they work to make it less expensive and do more on their own, and that he's being recognized for that. So that's the back and forth that's happening just as I stopped listening this morning.
Gotcha.
Yes. That was his first reckoning with loss.
What
Yeah,
do
one of the
you
things I think about the book, because I don't want to give away spoilers, since we can talk more about it next week. Yeah, well, I think putting into context how the author, and he never served in Vietnam. He never, he had an experience in real life, as a high school student working on a construction site, so he could draw experience from that. But all of the war experience, he read about, watched movies, had you know war vets from Vietnam consult him. So as he's expressing all of that, and where I was going with that is he deals with some very sensitive subjects, in my opinion, quite artfully.
Oh,
Um,
totally.
relaying Vietnam War and the anti-war sentiment that existed. A veteran dealing with PTSD. Religious things. Loss, and grieving, and passing on things to next generations through the lessons that you learn, as you become a father.
Yeah.
And so I thought, he strung all those are very sensitive subjects to deal with that could be very offensive.
I'm just thinking about those people who found it offensive. I'm like, if you can't handle like really thoughtful and good dialogue about your beliefs, or like, I don't know, your religion, or like, that's the whole problem.
I mean, I think, you think about how credible it has to be for someone who might read the book who is a Vietnam War vet. How
Yes.
credible it has to be for them to read that, and also how difficult it probably would be.
Yeah. But I wonder if they would have those aha moments like, huh, maybe that's why I felt this way, or maybe that's why this triggers me. You know what I mean? Because you don't really
Mhm.
go to think about those things that you're traumatized about. And in fact, like, um, you don't even know that you have PTSD until much later sometimes.
And I mean, it certainly, in 1979, it wasn't a thing. It wasn't a diagnosis.
Right.
You know.
Yeah,
So
it only became a thing like in this generation, really, didn't it?
And it certainly wasn't discussed as openly during that time.
Right. Yeah. It was just like, yeah, so and so came back from the war and they were never the same, but they didn't describe it. There were no symptoms, and there were no like support mechanisms. Like one of them that I really like, and I'm just talking in general terms, like is the way that they honor canines, and then sometimes they pair those canines with returning vets
mhm.
for moral support And I think that must be the best therapy ever, because all of a sudden you have a team member that just gives you their unconditional support. Maybe
Well, I mean,
for
one of the themes of the book too is that as much as William, the war vet that Vincent, befriends on the construction site, as much as it was life changing in terms of the lessons that Vincent learned about life and being a father, being setting examples and the things. It was important for William to have someone to talk to, and
huge,
neither of them really recognized it at the time. It comes out much later.
huge.
Yeah, and I think the book does a good job because with all the great fictions, it doesn't only entertain but also educates.
Oh,
So in a lot of areas, you learn things you didn't know, and it draws attention to political, social health issues that need attention. So it does a really good job. And when you get to the end of the book and read all the things that he used for research, you will also see that first is that he used tons of material to prepare. Second, that those material are viewing the same topic but from all different angles. So it's not just one type of preparation; it's all different viewpoints, and that's what makes it really good.
I was wondering, because I just thought that he was a writer and he's good with descriptions and descriptors. Because when I can imagine myself there, then I'm like, wow. When someone can describe something to such an extent that I can imagine it and feel it and smell it and sense it, it's like, I know that it's a good writer. But I don't know about this stuff at the back, his references, because I'm reading the audiobook. I'm hearing the audiobook
Yeah,
like
well, when you
Stevie.
get to the end of the audio book, I would, don't, and you get to the end of the book, I would recommend listening to, the author at the end, talk about how he, conceptualized the book, and, as Ferenc was saying, the materials he sourced and the thought processes he went through. It's I thought it was very instructive. It's at the end of the physical book too, but
Oh,
if you get to the end of the
every
audio
single one
book,
of us is going to nerd out on that.
yeah, it's good. I like it when a historical fiction writer, like this book is, the author talks about at the end what their inspiration was, how they sourced their content, how they thought about the topic. Um, so it's for me, must have been something I said.
Kind of. It's always something you said.
Yeah, I know. I keep chasing people away.
I have terrible internet for the last 2 days. Our fiber
Yeah.
Oh,
provider
it's the snow probably.
for fiber. Oh my gosh, I need to move somewhere not snowy.
Oh, for fiber. Like fiber is like landline, right?
Fiber optic, like
Oh.
it comes straight to my house, but it's not supposed to be like this. It's really annoying.
Hmm.
Mm. I have fiber optic too.
And yeah, you always come in and go and come in and go. Maybe it's a thing.
I hope not. I have a help ticket in with them because we normally have zero interruption, and the last 2 days have been miserable, dropping calls left and right. So I apologize, guys.
No.
No, you're fine.
But you're here. You're here. In outside your doors is like a snow dump. And you're in Vermont. It makes me feel good.
My house is turned into the Hallmark movie because we live in an old log house. And so anytime you put any Christmas decorations up, it's immediately looks like a card, no matter
Oh
what you
my
do.
goodness.
Yeah.
You could
So
take a
that for the
picture of
next
your
month,
house and send it out as cards.
there you go. Should do
So
that.
you're living in a snow globe, Michelle.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I could. I'll take a picture of the snow globe and I'll drop it in our chat. In
yes,
our
yes,
group chat.
please.
All right.
And then, I don't know, like maybe not this winter, but some winter I want to come and ski Vermont.
I'll make sure it's not below 0 the day you come, even though you're hardened for the weather.
Oh yeah, I can ski up to -30.
Yikes.
You have to be in Alberta. If you don't, you'll never get to ski. It's just like the 5 months of golf. If you don't golf and you let a little tiny sprinkle of rain stop you, you'll never golf. I think I interrupted Steven, and I feel so bad now.
Oh no, oh no worries, Benita. Like what I was gonna say earlier was just a quick point to close out. Hal's earlier point about the low about the bad reviews of this book on Goodreads and Amazon. Whenever I see less than favorable reviews of any book I'm reading, like like I have to look at it from multiple perspectives and try to figure out like what's prompting the reviewer to say those things. Like is it is it shaped by by their prior experiences, upbringing, cultural values, or if if the reviewer has PTSD, did they hear something from the audiobook that triggered like a memory or a sensation that they always knew existed inside them, but they just never had the words to verbalize. So basically, I like to take like bad reviews, with a slight grain of salt, while acknowledging, any bits of validity, wherever I can, and because I think what these reviews have in common is that, like, whether they have merit or not, it's about the reviewer, like more often than it is about the author.
Totally. You're
Right.
much nicer than me. I just
Or they've read other content from the author that they liked, and then this being so different from other books the author typically does, it
Yeah.
wasn't what they were expecting, right?
Oh, right, because he writes mysteries and
Yes.
Yes.
right.
Yes.
I've
So
not
someone.
read any of his other books. I do have
Neither have
three
I.
of them, that are sitting around in various formats, to read, but I had not heard of this author until I stumbled across this book.
You can't remember how you stumbled?
I
That's
don't. It must have been on sale on Audible one time, or something, or I saw the reviews and added it to my Audible library, and just one day said, okay, ready to start a new one. Let's do this one. So I had no idea, zero idea what to expect when I first listened to it back this past September. One of the things about the book that also, where it resonates for me, is in 1979, which is the setting when Vincent is 18, working graduating high school, and work in the construction site. In 1979, I was 19.
Oh, wow.
And so, I understand the references to the time setting. I also worked 4 months when I was 17 as a construction laborer
Wow.
on a huge, big residential community that was being built. As a way to raise money. So a lot of the references to the jobs he was doing, resonated with me.
Interesting.
Right. Like the asbestos.
And not knowing that it was dangerous in the
Right.
70s. Heck yeah.
Yeah, no, I caught that. Like, yeah, not knowing, and then and and the Vietnam War was also uh when they developed that chemical, right? The palm
Napalm, you thinking about it?
napalm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all these things that we didn't know that would kill us. Well, actually, everything is killing us. The book club doesn't necessarily have to be um, about the book. Like, I was thinking, about the format, and I was thinking about um, in 2026, like, what are we going to do differently? And there's been thoughts of like, having a set of questions. But I think that would be boring because then it wouldn't be just like flowing conversation. I mean, it'd be like a well-run book club, but then
Also, some of the questions that we do have, for example, at the end of the book, at least in the Kindle format and the physical one, there is a set of questions for book clubs, but it's gonna touch on parts of the book that not all of us have read yet. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to discuss a question now to which the answer lies in the very last chapter, right?
right.
So
So,
that's something we could use on the second session.
oh, totally. Yeah, let's start doing that. But it's 12 books a year, 2 sessions a month. And the first session, we're kind of trying to tread lightly because we don't want to be spoiling the book for others. And so we're searching for things to talk about. And so we can just talk about things in general. And then it's the second session that will bring out the questions. I like it.
Yeah. But I think, too, that it is a little bit more of a challenge about spoilers when you're dealing with fiction.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Nonfiction, and if we stick to the pattern of, two nonfictions and a fiction, but the real, I think the concern comes in much more so with fiction books because you don't want to give something away if somebody's not gotten to that point yet.
Right. And this month is fiction. What we read is not always fiction. A lot of the time it's business, leadership, self-development, future technology, uh, systems thinking. And then, I fed ChatGPT our book list again, and they divided it into these sections for me. And then they classified our fiction reads as building empathy.
Okay. I mean, you can say that to anything, but yes.
I have to go back and look at what our 4 fiction ones was this year. Diamond Eye.
Every time you read about anything that is from someone else's viewpoint, you are building your empathy.
Oh yeah.
Well, and that's the general intent of fiction books in general is
True, yes.
building empathy.
Yeah, because you got to make the reader feel something.
Well, I didn't really realize that until looking back, but the Diamond Eye, the Stolen Queen, this one, and All the Light We Cannot See are all historical fictions. I don't know that wasn't by design that we were picking historical fictions each time, but we did.
Yes,
March
and most
2026
of
will be
them.
a science fiction. So
Yeah, I missed the science
Yeah.
fiction from this year.
Mhm.
But historical fictions, the good ones, are also touching usually all important topics, not just from the event itself, but as with this example, right? You have politics and sociology and people relationships and all that thing that is a bit farther away from the main subject, but still related to it.
right.
And there are tons of lessons that you can draw from the book, a lot of quotes that you can take for further reference. I made, I don't know, at least 10 to 20 notes on different quotes along the book, as it's useful out in the outside real world as well, to take it as a reference. So really good, enjoyable one, super insightful. And yes, there will always be people with negative reviews, which is fine because not everyone can have or should have the same opinion of everything. But in general, I think this was far best, far the best fiction that we have read this year. It wasn't the same level, although completely different topic and realm, as James was last year from Percival
Mhm.
Everett. It grabs a topic that you have heard about and read about many times, but it's from a different angle, a different approach, and it makes it very enjoyable while it's also informative and makes you think.
Yeah, I just mentioned that one to one of the students that I spoke at Mentor Hour for, um, because they belong to the School of Alan and Rose Pulley of Transportation and Logistics, or no, Transportation and Trade, Logistics and Trade. And it's for like the Each One Teach One stipend. And the school was developed for like the last people that like came off the Clotilda in the slave trade. Um, well, anyways, I was telling he wanted to join. There's a few students that wanted to join book club, and so they might be watching right now. Um, because they don't want to join the studio until they know what it's about. And I said that that was a great way to like see, like, if you could, I think they could add really good perspectives to the books we read. But one of the things I was thinking is like, if we talked about how we can apply what we've read to our own lives. And I was just thinking back to what Hal said about they were like really William and the kid. Remember his name?
Vincent Vincenzo.
Vincenzo. Were really helpful to each other, even though like you think of it as like a mentor mentee situation. I think you'll all agree that often it's not like that. Like um, in a lot of my mentee mentor situations, I learned just as much from my mentee as they think I taught them. And I see that with a William and Vincenzio.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, a lot of times in the book, someone brings up a topic or does something that is seemingly innocent or not that harsh, and it triggers a reaction that they wouldn't expect. And that's also an example that you can take to real life, right? So you have all these conversations during the day. There is something in your head you say out loud, and it triggers a completely different result as you expected. So that's also something useful to take away.
Yeah, and also even just speaking from a general like human nature standpoint, like in the book, there are like various snippets of conversations between Vincent and William, where Vincent is asking like William to tell him about Vietnam while they're having beers and working, and then William like shares like some details, but Vincent gets the sense just based on William's body language that William is not giving out like the full story, but clearly Vincent wants to know more, and that happens to us all the time in real life when we're talking, like even amongst ourselves or with friends or work colleagues, like there's what is said, but but equally as often there are also clues as to what is left unsaid, but builds but but stirs up curiosity, like you know that like they're not giving you the full story, but you want to know everything. So I just found like that aspect of the book also very interesting as everything else.
Yeah. For Stephen, Michelle, Benita, you've gotten to this point at least some. One of the things to really, keen in on is the lessons that Vincent learns through his interactions with William and how he applies it as a father to his son, Bo. And if I mean, my son is in his mid 30s. If my son were younger, I would probably want him to read this book at some point. Now it would just sound like an old guy giving his son a reading assignment. But there's a point where it would be a really valuable book to read for a father to share with their son, in my opinion, in the 16 to 25-year old range.
I'm glad you said that, Hal, because I have a son who's like hyper into history, wars, all the stuff. But I was like, oh, where's this book gonna go? Is it gonna need to be like, not that I want to filter things from him, but sometimes stuff is not really at that level. But if you give it the 16 mark, he turned 16 in January, and he's a bit of an old soul, so he reads all the things. But I think I will share this with him when I'm done with it.
Yeah, well, wait till you get to that point further on in the book, but as, Bo, Vincent's son is a senior in high school. And some of the life experiences that Bo has that I don't want to give away at this point, and how Vincent reflects on the learnings, because he's also at that time, he's also reading a page a day in William's journal, right? So
I think
he's
that works out so well.
re-reflecting at the time of what he learned from those interactions at the time, his son is at the age he was when he was interacting with William. And a lot of that is why I say, the last third, last half of the book is where it starts to come together, and where the impact really happens is because of, at least in my mind, it was how those learnings transcended to Vincent being a father.
Wouldn't it be nice to have a handbook for life? Like the life hack book? Well, now we have ChatGPT, but it might lead you astray. But I guess we all have to write our own manuals. No one's going to write it for us, right?
Yep. Yeah, but reflecting back to on, what I shared about, when I was, young, those the 4 months experience I had as a construction laborer on a construction site, I was interacting with people who were, in their late 20s, early 30s, people who, didn't have college educations, were tradespeople. They were smoking all the time. They were doing dope. They were, I mean, it was really an eye-opening experience for me as a kid. And like the Vincent character, I wasn't treated like I was 17. I was treated like a peer with them, and it was, I hadn't thought about some of those experiences in a really long time, but they all came back reading this book.
In a good way?
Mostly. I mean, there were some people who, my reaction at the time as a 17-year-old kid was, stay away from this guy. This guy's really strange. I mean, the type of people who are working on those sites, they're not making, now, experienced trade people who came in and, did, the actual trade. I'm sure they were making good money, but the people who were more, laborers to prep a job site, to clean up after the tradespeople left, to do some of the smaller, things. You know, they were, they were doing a job in life that they absolutely hated.
Right.
They realized that was their lot in life, and it reinforced in me. I was a high school senior, and it reinforced in me why I so desperately wanted to be the first in my family to go to college and graduate.
I feel like having an internship or a summer job in that field, the construction field, probably really builds good habits. Like you're not afraid of work. You know that a lot of things are manual. You need to keep an eye on safety at all times, right? Because it's physical work. And you learn how to have like camaraderie.
And you can't
And there
take
are a lot of
shortcuts if
things that. Sorry, go
And you
ahead.
can't what?
sorry. And sorry, I was just gonna say, and you cannot take shortcuts if you want to do it right.
Right. Ference?
Yeah, and there are things that you learn on a construction site or wherever seemingly unrelated job area, and then you go elsewhere and can take all the learnings with you. For example, when Vincent started to work on the construction site, he's told to do something to tear off the roof, right? But he realizes that okay, this is what I was told, but I think if I'm doing this and this instead of that, I might get the job done faster and better.
Yes.
So that's process optimization at its best, right? That's something you can do in any industry and
Yeah,
in
he
the
was
any job.
yes, and he wasn't just blindly following like William's orders.
Yes.
Like he was dealing with like the challenges of the task in a very upfront manner because he knew that like his efforts would be complicated by by not only the heat but also from the insulations like scratching like against his skin and you could see his ability to think on his own feet he like when he created that hole through the wall like allowing like fresh air in for ventilation.
Mhm.
Yes, and he was focused not just on the deliverable itself, but also on the outcome later on, right? So everything he did it in mind to be more efficient, but also to do something useful. The way they reused later the material he tore off and all those things.
Yep.
Uh, those are concepts you can apply at your day job, whatever that is.
Yeah, there. I mean, talking about those interactions too. There's a couple of things that happen as part of that are secondary, but they are important. You know, Vincent gets the job because his sister's boyfriend, Mike, works there. But then Mike exits the scene, which creates the opportunity for that might not have been there for Vincent and William to develop the relationship they do. And then the Todd character, where Vincent starting out, even though he's doing some really incredible job, has, a lot of insecurities about, that he's not doing a good job and Todd's evaluating him to fire him, and, so that the role that each of those smaller players play is still important. I mean, you really focus on, the Vincent William thing because that's so central, but those other characters play a key role. The friends Vincent has in high school and the thought processes he goes through as his interactions with William mature him quite significantly in a way that he would not have been matured without having, and so, he demonstrates responsibility in a number of interactions that a typical graduating senior in their summer before they're off to college, would not normally demonstrate. And the references, I thought it was very funny. The references to a not fully formed, frontal lobe, um, was true. Or your brain is not fully formed in terms of decision making processes.
Yeah, great
No,
point about
no.
the scaffolding of characters. Like they added. Yeah, when you think about character development, gosh, it's so hard.
Yeah, is he Vincent without without this other supporting cast?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Thomas Phoenix is here. He's that student I met from Lorianne.
Oh, great.
Oh,
And there's like another student that I met as well. I think her name was Shinobia. And yeah, she works at Whitney and Pratt. I think she would enjoy this as well. She asked about the book club. I need to give her like the links and stuff. And yeah, I haven't seen anyone else show up. Oh. Yeah, that's how you show it. How could this become like a more podcast type panel? Like if we turn this into like a book club panel and the theme was that book.
I think because of attention spans, it would have to be quite a bit shorter than an hour.
Yeah, like 30 minutes.
Actually looking, if you want, viewership.
like within the 30-minute to 45-minute range.
Yep.
I was thinking closer to 30, which, may be good, may be bad, depending on, the book,
Yeah, with certain themes and questions requiring lengthier discussions than others, so that would be a trade-off to consider.
Yeah, and I think we'd have to go into, if we're going to have, if we want to start to build dedicated viewership in a podcast format, I think we'd have to be a little bit more, and I'm not slighting it by saying this way, but we'd have to be a little more prepared.
Yeah.
We might have a couple of questions that we would circulate around in advance, and Benita, you'd facilitate, and so because if it's just us and there's lulls in the conversation, we digress and talk about the weather and all that stuff, that's fine. That's cool and that's appropriate. But if we wanted to, make it something that created, a viewership, it would have to be, I'm not saying it has to be so regimented that we, it's like, question, and we're all, serious all the time, but it would have to be a little bit more.
We need a producer. We need like a studio staff. We need a marketing team.
we would need good editing and cinematography and sound effects to just season it all together.
And
CGI.
Unless I turn my camera off, we need good makeup artists.
Oh,
you kill me.
oh,
I could use one. Like, look at me today. But those are all the things we love, is that we just show up as we are and read or not read and still be able to have a conversation. Yeah, for sure. Our next title, this isn't the only book we're reading in the next little while. So we read one book a month, so 12 books a year, and then we meet bi-weekly sometimes, we meet twice a month. And our next book is, what is it?
Ultra processed people, right?
Yeah. That's going to go into the systems thinking and I can't remember what systems thinking and society.
It's more about the things that, and I don't have anything in front of me to tell me this other than recollection, but it's, the types of things that we call food that really isn't food and how it's affecting our health.
Yeah, I think it's been affecting our health for a long time, and we haven't really addressed it. So it is a really good topic. Ultra processed people, or is it processed?
It depends on what side of the border between Canada and the US you're on.
What
And
do I?
It's
What am
processed
also,
I
or
supposed to
processed,
what
say?
it just depends.
depends which side of the pond you come from too.
Oh, is that right? Okay,
Yeah.
like I don't know, because sometimes I say project, but then sometimes I say project.
Okay, so you code switch and
Yeah,
flip back and forth.
right. I code switch.
In February, we got 1929, Andrew Ross Sorkin's book that's been sitting on the bestseller list for a few weeks now.
Yep,
Ooh, I'm
Um,
looking forward to 1929. I
me
feel like,
too.
yeah, I feel like it's going to, we're going to really relate.
Me too. I see it on like the bestseller lists in Publishers Weekly magazine, which
Oh
I
my
read.
gosh, I can't wait to, it's like, I almost want
my
to like,
library system's got 4 copies floating around, and they're all checked out, and people are waiting on. They've got it on hold.
Yeah, like is there a wait list at your library, Hal?
Yeah, if you want, I mean, you can, just you can put a book on hold, and eventually, when one comes up in the queue, they'll direct it your way.
I
Yeah,
almost want,
that's how it
almost
usually
want to go
works.
1929 and then ultra processed people, or processed people.
What's that?
Like, start the year off with a bang. As you can see, I don't have much of a life.
Well,
Ah,
then we've also got March's pick pre-selected. That's Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, Back to Fiction, and that's the
Right,
one.
back to fiction. But if we traded the nonfiction, would it affect anything? Would it impact anything or anyone?
I
Well,
think
right now,
ultra
because I have to
processed
make.
people is better to have in January, so stick to the
Oh,
old plan
right.
because in January everyone will want to be super healthy at least for a week, right?
That's
So I
right.
think
Okay, yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, that was a good idea.
It
Okay,
might
we're gonna
help
read
make those
all.
New Year's resolutions last more than a week or 10 days.
That's right, and then we can giggle about it.
I don't.
Okay,
Well,
but also, I mean, yeah, it'll give us a real good idea of, who's on the bandwagon, who's off the bandwagon, and why maybe you shouldn't be. All right, that wraps up book club for the first part of Robert Dugoni's The World Played Chess on December 17th, which is next week. We will be having our last book club session of the year. And then, oh my gosh, we got such a good lineup. And then next week, we can really tear into this book because there'll be no spoiler. I will talk to you soon. Thanks to everyone for
Thank you.
coming.
thank
And
you.
we
thanks
will see
everyone.
you soon. Take care.
Bye.
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 Bye.